It had been a few weeks since Whiskers and Shadow returned from their floating island adventure. Life in their peaceful village had resumed, but Whiskers, as always, was growing restless. She would spend her days chasing butterflies, practicing her pounces, and exploring the garden, but deep down, she longed for another grand adventure. One morning, while the dew still clung to the grass and the air smelled of fresh blossoms, Whiskers bounded up to Shadow, who was peacefully napping in his favorite sunbeam. "Shadow, wake up!" Whiskers chirped, her tail flicking with excitement. Shadow opened one eye lazily, giving Whiskers a groggy look. "What now, Whiskers? Another pebble you found?" "No, this is serious," Whiskers exclaimed. "There's something strange happening in the forest. I heard the birds talking about it." Shadow, now a little more interested, sat up and stretched. "The birds?" "Yes," Whiskers nodded eagerly. "They said there's a part of the forest where the trees have started glowing at night and that strange noises come from it." Shadow narrowed his green eyes and thought, "That does sound strange. Glowing trees and noises in the forest could be something magical or dangerous." "Exactly," Whiskers bounced. "We have to check it out. Come on, Shadow, this could be our next big adventure." Shadow sighed, already sensing he wouldn't get much more rest that day. All right. I suppose it's worth investigating, but we need to be careful." With that, the two cats set off toward the edge of the forest. It was a beautiful day. The sun was shining, the birds were singing, and the breeze carried the sweet scent of wildflowers. But as they ventured deeper into the forest, the trees grew taller, the sunlight dimmed, and the air became cooler. Soon, they reached the part of the forest where the birds had said the strange happenings occurred. The trees here were older, their branches twisted and gnarled, and the undergrowth was thick with moss. As they walked, the forest around them grew eerily quiet. Even the birds had stopped singing. "This place feels different," Shadow murmured, his fur bristling slightly as he scanned their surroundings. Whiskers, ever the optimist, pushed forward. "Different is good. Different means we're close to finding something exciting." As they continued, the trees began to change. Their bark shimmered faintly, glowing with a soft, ethereal light. Whiskers' eyes widened in awe. "Look, Shadow, the trees really are glowing." "It's beautiful," Shadow admitted, though his cautious nature kept him on alert. "But remember, we don't know what's causing this." Just then, a faint melodic sound reached their ears. It was like the tinkling of wind chimes, but softer, more mysterious. The sound seemed to come from deeper in the forest. Whiskers' ears perked up. "Do you hear that? It's coming from over there." Without waiting for Shadow's approval, she darted ahead, following the strange sound. "Whiskers, wait!" Shadow called, rushing after her. They followed the sound until they reached a large clearing. In the center of the clearing stood a massive ancient tree. Its trunk was wide and its branches stretched far into the sky. The tree was glowing more brightly than any of the others, and the ground beneath it was covered in strange, swirling patterns of light. Whiskers skidded to a halt, her eyes wide. "Whoa, what is this place?" Shadow caught up, his gaze fixed on the massive tree. "This must be the source of the magic," he said, his voice low. "But what's causing it?" As they approached the glowing tree, the melodic sound grew louder, almost like a soft song carried on the breeze. The swirling patterns on the ground began to pulse with light, and suddenly, from the base of the tree, a figure appeared. It was a cat unlike any Whiskers or Shadow had ever seen. Her fur was a shimmering silver, and her eyes glowed with the same light that surrounded the tree. She looked at them with a warm, knowing smile. "Greetings, travelers," the silver cat said in a voice as soft as the wind. "I have been waiting for you." Whiskers and Shadow exchanged a surprised glance. "Waiting for us?" Whiskers asked, stepping forward. "Who are you?" The silver cat's eyes twinkled. "I am Sylva, the guardian of the Enchanted Forest. I protect the ancient magic that flows through these trees, and I sense that two brave hearts would come to help me." Shadow frowned. "Help you with what?" Sylva's expression grew serious. "A darkness is stirring beneath the roots of this forest. Long ago, the magic of the Enchanted Forest kept everything in balance, but now something threatens that balance. The magic is fading, and if it disappears completely, the forest will wither." Whiskers gasped. "That sounds awful. What can we do to help?" Sylva nodded toward the swirling patterns of light on the ground. The The source of the forest's magic lies deep underground, in the heart of the forest. You must journey to the heart and restore its power. Shadow's tail flicked. How do we get there? Sylva lifted her paw and a narrow tunnel opened at the base of the glowing tree. The tunnel was lit with the same ethereal light, winding down into the earth. This path will take you to the heart. But be warned, there are trials you must face. Only those who are truly in tune with the magic of the forest can succeed. Whiskers, ever eager, nodded confidently. We can do it! Right, Shadow? Shadow, though cautious as always, gave a determined nod. We'll do our best. Sylva smiled softly. I believe in you. Now, go quickly. The forest's magic grows weaker with each passing moment. With a deep breath, Whiskers and Shadow stepped into the glowing tunnel. The air inside was cool and filled with the scent of earth and moss. As they descended deeper into the ground, the light from the walls seemed to guide their way. The tunnel eventually opened into a vast underground chamber. In the center of the chamber was a large, glowing crystal, pulsing faintly, as though its light was flickering out, the heart of the forest. But between them and the crystal stood a series of obstacles. The first was a large pool of water, its surface completely still. Across the water were stepping stones, but they were far apart, and some of them were submerged. Whiskers tilted her head. How are we supposed to cross that? Shadow studied the stones carefully. We need to find the path where the stones stay above the water. If we step on the wrong one, we might get stuck. With careful precision, Shadow led the way, testing each stone before stepping onto it. Whiskers followed close behind, her paws light and quick. After a tense few minutes, they made it across the pool. Next, they came to a dense thicket of thorny vines that blocked their path. The vines glowed with the same fading light as the crystal, but their sharp thorns looked dangerous. You can't just push through those, Whiskers said, eyeing the thorns warily. Shadow nodded. No, we'll need to be clever. He looked around and spotted a faint shimmer of light on the ground. Look, there's a narrow path winding through the vines. We just need to follow it carefully. Together, they wound their way through the narrow path, avoiding the thorns by sticking close to the shimmering light. The vines seemed to shift and move, but they trusted the light to guide them. Finally, they reached the last trial, a large stone door covered in intricate carvings. At the center of the door was a depression in the shape of a paw print. It looks like we need to unlock it, Whiskers said. But how? Shadow wondered. Whiskers stepped forward and placed her paw in the depression. Nothing happened. Then, Shadow placed his paw beside hers. Slowly, the door began to glow, and with a low rumble, it slid open. Together, they stepped through the door and into the heart of the forest. The crystal at the center was dim, its light almost gone. We made it, Whiskers whispered. But how do we restore the magic? Shadow asked, looking around. Sylva's voice echoed softly in the chamber. Place your paws on the crystal and let the magic of the forest flow through you. Only your combined strength can revive the heart. Without hesitation, Whiskers and Shadow placed their paws on the glowing crystal. As they did, a surge of warmth and light filled the chamber. The crystal's light grew brighter and brighter until it shone like a star, filling the entire underground with its glow. The magic of the forest had been restored. As the light faded, Sylva appeared before them once more. You have done it. The forest is safe, thanks to your courage and trust in each other. Whiskers purred happily. We couldn't have done it without each other. Shadow smiled, his usual calm demeanor softened by the joy of their success. And without your guidance, Sylva. Sylva nodded. The Enchanted Forest will thrive again, and its magic will endure. Thank you, brave travelers. With their mission complete, Whiskers and Shadow returned to the surface, where the trees glowed brighter than ever, and the melodic sound of the forest's magic filled the air. They knew that no matter where their adventures took them next, the bond they shared would always lead them to success.